much. But I love you!
Hello everyone, in today's video, we are reviewing the 2015 horror thriller movie titled Even Lambs Have Teeth, spoiler ahead. The film opens with two best friends, the uptight Katie and the promiscuous Sloane, who are looking forward to an upcoming trip out of town. They plan to work on a farm called Ecofield Organic Farm for a month, so they can save money to go shopping in New York City.
I am so excited.
The next morning, they are picked up by Katie's police uncle Jason, and they will stay one night at Jason's and his girlfriend's house before going to the farm. As they settle in the new place, Sloane suggests that they should come up with fake names during their stay in the town. Sloane's name becomes Heather, and Katie's name becomes Ripley. The next day, Uncle Jason drops the two at a station where they are to catch a public bus to the farm. Being a protective police uncle, Jason tells them they should come up with a safe word in case they get into trouble. The agreement is that they need to send a code word at the end of every text. In other words, Jason instructs Katie to send him a different code word each day in alphabetical order. Today's safe word is apple.
And then the next day move through the alphabet. So after apple, something that starts with B.
After Uncle leaves, the two have to wait for a bus arriving about an hour later, and they decide to wait in a cafe. They immediately catch the interest of two townspeople and end up sitting at the same table with them. Then, the two women introduce themselves with the fake names they made up the night before, and the two men introduce themselves as brothers, their names being Jed and Lucas. The brothers offer to take them to work.
You know, you don't have to wait for the bus. We could drive you up to the farm.
And despite Katie's initial reluctance, she gives in to Sloane's silent plea. The two eventually climb into the young men's blue truck. However, things don't go as planned. Jed intentionally drives past the farm where Katie and Sloane are supposed to work,
We just passed it.
confusing the two women. Finally, they arrive at Jed and Lucas's rough mother's place, who welcomes the two women and invites them in for tea before they go to the farm.
You're freaking these poor girls out.
As they enter, Katie receives a text from her police uncle and tells him she is fine using their agreed-upon safe word. Meanwhile, they eat some pie and drink some tea, something they probably shouldn't do, but they do it anyway. When they find that they are trapped, their vision becomes blurry. Both try to flee upon realizing something is wrong. Unfortunately, Jed and Lucas manage to knock them out and take them back inside. The next day, Katie and Sloane wake up panicked, locked in the middle of the forest. Jed comes to them, telling them they will now live here, and they are given basic living items like clothes, a bed, and a toilet.
We are, after all, not savages.
We move to the next scene where Katie and Sloane are now dressed, and Jed's boss, Boris, appears, taking Katie's phone to check if anyone knows their whereabouts. At this point, he discovers that Katie and Sloane have lied about their names and the code she used in the text. Katie and Sloane are eventually forced to tell him that the word apple is a safe word, and Boris uses this word to send a message to Jason. Once everything is back on track, Katie and Sloane are getting ready to take showers with a temporary shower head when the town sheriff shows up with a gun.
What's going on here?
The two girls think they are rescued and run towards him. But it turns out the sheriff is a corrupt person involved in their business, and he comes to clap one of the women. After the wicked sheriff gets his satisfaction, Sloane visits a shaken-looking Katie to comfort her. On the other side of the town, Uncle Jason is worried, as the latest text he has received from Katie contains the safety word she used yesterday. Back in the woods, Jed and Lucas welcome another customer, whom we'll now call the scruffy guy. He then chooses Sloane and takes her into the trailer. Unsurprisingly, the scruffy guy is a bit of a psycho. He burned her stomach with a cigarette.
But I love you!
Back to the police uncle, he finally calls Sloane and Katie's workplace, learning that they never showed up for work yesterday. Convinced they are in trouble, he rushes to find them. Meanwhile, Sloane and Katie's days are about to get worse, as the next appearing customer is even cruder than before. When the next customer approaches, Jed and Lucas hastily cover their heads. A guy with a pig mask selects Sloane and takes her into the trailer. After he leaves, it's now Katie's turn to sue the shaken Sloane. We're not sure what the guy with the pig mask did to her, as Sloane looks even more traumatized than before. In the next scene, Uncle Jason arrives at the sheriff's office, coming face to face with the same small-town twisted sheriff we saw earlier. Here we learn that this uncle is not just a policeman. He is actually an FBI agent. He expresses his concerns and is sure his niece has been taken.
Yeah, I think they were taken.
To make the plot more interesting, for some reason, this FBI uncle decides to tell the sheriff how he knows they are in trouble, as Katie did not use a new code in her latest sent text. Back in the woods, it's apparent that the sheriff has informed his partner that Katie's uncle is an FBI agent and that Katie lied to them about the safety word. The boss, Boris Johnson, doesn't want the FBI involved in their business, and he tells Jeff to end both of them and dispose of their bodies.
Get rid of these two. Dump them where we dump the others, just outside the city.
Katie overhears the conversation without their knowledge. As this situation unfolds, the FBI uncle decides to go to the cafe where he last dropped off Katie and Sloane. He then asks the barista what he knows. The barista clearly remembers which truck Katie and Sloane left in. The next day, Katie tells Sloane that the thugs are planning to end them. Shortly before them and a scruffy guy arrive. They then leave the scruffy guy to watch over them. Katie seizes this opportunity to lure him.
You love me, don't you?
And once she gets close enough, she slices his throat with her bare teeth. Then, the two women begin to break free from their shackles. Soon after, the sheriff arrives at the scene, probably intending to end them. But just as he steps out of the car, Katie and Sloane steal his vehicle. The two women drive back to town and then head to a hardware store to prepare. Some real villains are about to go down. Then, they ask the cashier if she knows Boris, who drives a blue truck, and she knows where he lives. On the other side of town, Uncle Jason visits the town's auto insurance building today, continuing his investigation. He fabricates a story about an accident colliding with a blue truck and inquires about who owns the truck. Boss Boris has just brought it home. It turns out Katie and Sloane sneak into Boris's house, get close to him, and throw him a tennis ball filled with nails, seriously injuring him. Now the tables have turned, and Boris pleads for his life, even willing to trade his money for it.
I tell you, you let me go.
At that moment, Uncle Jason parks his car in front of Boris's house. Back inside, Katie and Sloane begin to question him about the identity of the man wearing a pig mask. When Boris refuses to reveal, Katie and Sloane pick up a makeshift spear they've made and give him a massage from back, ending him. When Uncle Jason finally enters the house, Katie and Sloane appear to have left, and he finds Boris. Jason then hears the roar of a car engine and the storm outside. Katie and Sloane drive away, and Uncle Jason takes Boris to the hospital. In the following scene, the sheriff informs Uncle Jason that Boris didn't make it. Uncle Jason becomes more concerned, tries to call Katie, but then hears the phone ring from the sheriff's pocket. Realizing his cover is blown, the sheriff pulls out a gun at Jason. Katie and Sloane stop the car in front of a church where we find out that the guy with the pig mask is actually the town's priest. Sloane enters the church, confronting the villain face to face. With Katie's help, the two best friends take down this liar. As Katie and Sloane drive away, we see them now content and carefree. But when they stop and get out of the car, it turns out the guy with the pig mask, the priest, is locked in the back of the truck. As a final blow, they douse him with gasoline and set him on fire before driving away. Though the two women look triumphant, Uncle Jason is now captured by the sheriff. Worse still, the sheriff appears to have captured two new young women. Luckily, Katie and Sloane come to their rescue. They tie up the sheriff and play with him with Russian roulette. We now see the two women are somewhat unhinged, but perhaps we can't blame them to some extent.
Here we go.
No!
When Katie finally punches him in the head, the sheriff starts claiming how sorry he is. Without hesitation, the girls end him. Afterwards, Katie and Sloane free the women and tell them to release Uncle Jason. Jason tries to inquire about the situation next room, but out of gratitude, they don't answer, as Katie and Sloane saved their lives. Next, Katie and Sloane go to the home of Jed and Lucas's mother and decide to trap her as she trapped them a few days before. They tie her up, take her to the basement, where Jed is tied up. As the mother is forced to watch,
Please. Jed.
they end him anyway, and the mother screams in agony. Next, they take her to Lucas, who is also tied to a chair. However, they don't end him but untie him, hand him a baseball bat, and threaten him to finish the woman. When Lucas voices his reluctance, they end him on spot. Afterwards, the two women prop up his body, make it look like he has done this himself. It's revealed they plan to pin all they've done on him. The desperate mother gives them money in exchange for sparing her life, but Katie not only refuses to let her go, but picks up a lawnmower and ends her. In the following scene, Uncle Jason parks the car at Katie's house to pick her and Sloane up. It seems some time has passed. Katie and Sloane get out of the car at the airport, excitedly heading to New York City. This is the end of the movie. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and then click the bell icon to get new movie summaries.